All right, good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar today. This is our first installment of the Demystifying Government Contracting series. And today we'll be taking a look at some basics of market research and some of the basic tools that you can use in conducting market research. My name is Daniel Kuhar, and with me today is Veronica Doga. We are both from the Nebraska Business Development Center, which is a statewide program that offers free consulting services in many different business aspects, from government contracting to market research, business planning, financial projections, export assistance, loan packaging, business valuation, and many other areas. So whatever point you're at in your business life, if you're having some questions or issues, we offer resources and training on many different aspects. So if that sounds like something you would like to get more information about, you can email me here. My email is on the screen, dckuchar@unomaha.edu. So in today's webinar, what we're going to be taking a look at, as I mentioned, is some basic market research tools that you can use to, number one, decide if government contracting is the right thing to do for your business. And then number two, to see which government agencies are buying what you sell in order to formulate your marketing plan to market to those agencies. So a couple things that we're going to be looking at today when it comes to prospecting government marketing opportunities is defining the government market opportunities, prospecting from a big picture perspective, finding open market opportunities, some best practices in prospecting, and implementing processes for effective prospecting. Lots of P's there. That was like a tongue twister for me, sorry. So what we're first going to do is define government market opportunities, or GMOs. So a government market opportunity is any opportunity where the initial source of funding stems from a government entity. And we think of government entities usually as the federal entities like the Department of Defense or the Department of Agriculture, but it's really any public agency which operates as a government, including federal, state, city agencies, counties, ports, school districts. So one I like to think of that a lot of people maybe don't know or don't think of right away is the University of Nebraska purchasing system. So they operate as kind of a government entity where there are certain restrictions and certain things that you have to do in order to do business with them. So that's what we're defining here as a government market opportunity. So within GMOs, it includes a lot of different things, not just open contracts that you can bid on, but also subcontracts, purchase card purchases, federal domestic assistance programs, grants, and cooperative agreements. And so it's important to know that there are multiple different things out here. So maybe if, government prime contracting is not the right route for you, there is a lot of other options for you to go to. And we're going to be taking a look at how to look at these things today and define it for your business. So some of the characteristics of GMOs that are different from like a private market or the commercial market is that they have heavily regulated processes. So obviously it's the government. They don't want just any Joe Schmo coming up off the street trying to do business with them or get a grant from them. So there are certain steps that you're going to have to take as a business in order to even be in contention for some of these things. The second part is that the dollar value of the GMO sets forth the publicizing requirement. So essentially, smaller dollar amount contracts or loans have different requirements where they can be publicized by the federal agencies, as compared to like a higher dollar contract has to be publicized in a certain way. So we'll look at kind of the differences in those and the specific dollar amounts that define where you'll find each of those opportunities. And so GMOs can range from single small micro purchases to large multi-year and multi-billion-dollar opportunities. So now that we know what a GMO is and we've defined that, the second part now is to know what your business is and define who your business is. So just some stats on small businesses in the US is that small businesses create over 95% of all new jobs in the US, and 95% of all businesses are considered small by federal size standards. So the federal government has size standards for each different industry based on dollar value or number of employees. And so the numbers are fairly lenient. So that's why you'll see 95% of all businesses are considered small, which means most likely your company probably would be considered small by federal size standards. And that's important because that can be used in your marketing plan because of the fact that government procurement policy is to provide the maximum practicable prime and subcontracting opportunities to small firms. So essentially, the government wants to spend as much as they can on small businesses in the United States. So if they can set aside a contract for a small business, they want to be able to do that. So if you are a small business, that opens the door for a lot of opportunities as long as you can do the work. So we'll look at that in a little bit as well. So as I just mentioned, of course, the federal government wants to spend as much as they can in the small business category, but they also have goals for different socioeconomic categories. And so these are listed right here on the screen. So these standards are set by Congress, saying that the federal government should spend at least 23% of all contracting dollars on small businesses. And they should spend at least 5% of all contracting dollars on small disadvantaged businesses and women-owned small businesses, and then spend at a minimum 3% on hub-zone small businesses and service-disabled veteran-owned small businesses. So, and they try their best to meet these goals every year. Sometimes they fall a little short, but in a lot of these categories, they spend that much and even more on a given year. So if you are a woman-owned small business and you meet those requirements to be that, again, that's another bargaining chip that you can use kind of in your marketing strategy towards these government agencies. And so we'll look at kind of what those different socioeconomic categories are and why that's important when you're looking at market research. So besides the socioeconomic categories, which you will want to certify or self-certify depending on which one it is, the second part to that, to what you're going to want to have on your SAM profile, which you probably have heard of, is NAICS codes. And so NAICS codes are basically the way that businesses are classified into different industries by the federal government regulations. And so you can look through the whole list of NAICS codes and find out which ones are, right for you. It could take some market research to find out which NAICS codes are the ones that are best for your business. And so that's what some of the tools we're going to be looking at today can help you to do is to decide which NAICS codes are right for me and which NAICS codes is the government actually purchasing in related to the industry that I'm in. So once you conduct some market research, what you're going to want to find is your primary code, and this is going to be the primary NAICS code that you assign to your business in sam.gov. And you're going to want to do it strategically so that it's the NAICS code that fits what your business does the best, but also one that has enough contracting opportunities and contracting dollars in it that you have the opportunities to bid on those. And then secondary codes are other NAICS codes that you might find in your market research process that are other services or products that you can provide. Maybe it's not your main, maybe it's not the main offering of your business, but they are things that you can do. So you're going to want to also have those on your profile as secondary codes. Now, it is important to know that some companies will go out there and just start adding a bunch of NAICS codes to their profile because they say, oh, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. but it is important to limit yourself to, I don't know, just a handful, like when you get started, so that you're really defining who you are as a business and what you do. Contracting officers like to see that instead of seeing hundreds of NAICS codes. So just a side note there.
And Danielle, can I add something really quickly?
Absolutely.
So I've talked to numerous contracting officers that were complaining about these businesses that have numerous NAICS codes that don't even remotely go together. And then they look at this company and they don't know what they do. And so they usually avoid contracting with these type of businesses. So having too many NAICS codes can hurt you.
Absolutely, yeah. So that's why sometimes it's encouraged that you have your business set up and you already know what you're going to do before you jump into the government market, just so that you can be more strategic when you're marketing to these agencies. Yeah, because like you said, we will get a lot of maybe people that are just interested in doing business with the government, but they could do many different things and they don't really know what to do yet. So good point, Veronica. Thank you. So as I talked about in a previous slide, are the size standards for businesses. So the size standards are set by the SBA and they define whether a business is small and thus eligible for these government programs and preferences reserved for small business concerns. And so the link is right here, and I didn't mention this before, I guess, but in the side panel of your GoToWebinar panel, there should be a handouts tab. If you click in there, you can download the PowerPoint today, and it'll have all the links for you to click in there and poke around yourself. We should have some time at the end where we can go through a couple of these things, but we're just going to run through the PowerPoint really quick here first. So again, the size standards, you can go to this link and find the different, it's sorted by NAICS code. So you can find the NAICS codes that you've defined for yourself, for your business, and then that'll show you whether or not you are a small business or not. And so then once you find out if you are a small business, you can begin to use that in your marketing and as you're bidding on contracts. So contracting officers use these size standards to classify procurements for services as full and open or as a set aside. Oops. Okay, so we talked a little bit about these socioeconomic categories before. I'll just give a little bit more information on each one really quick. So this has a little bit of old information on it. So I'll start with the bottom one. It says self-certify as woman-owned, but actually right now the woman-owned small business set aside is certified by the SBA. Is that correct, Veronica?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. So they just changed this from a self-certification to being certified by the SBA, and unfortunately, with everything in the government, when they change things, there are some issues. So we're still trying to work through the process right now, even as a PTAC, of how this whole process works. But we have been getting some clients that have just recently certified as a woman-owned small business under the new system, and they're good to go. So if you are looking to get certified as a woman-owned small business, we can definitely help you out with that process because it has changed. On the right side, we have self-certify as a service-disabled veteran-owned small business. Veronica, do you want to touch on this one a little bit? Because I'm not as familiar with the service-disabled vet.
Sure. And this is still a self-certification. If you are planning to do business with all of the other agencies but the veteran, the VA. So VA is a little different. That is a certification, and you'll have to go through the certification process with the VA in order to do business with them. For everybody else, it's still a self-certification. Why it's a still self-certification? Because the VA will be handing over the process of the certification to the SBA, and then they will be merged, and then it will become a certification. So that is still in the talks. The women-owned certification came to being as I think just last year as certification, but it was in the works for the last 4 years. So SBA took 4 years to figure out how they're gonna do that as a certification. I suppose the veteran certification will go through a similar process of developing the standards and all of that. Hopefully it will be a faster process for SBA to figure out the processes to become certified, because the VA already has figured it out. So hopefully that will be a faster process to become a certification. But for now, it's still a self-certification if you want to work with if with the agencies other than the VA.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. So then if we look at go up to the top bubble there, we have the SBA Hub Zone program, so Hub Zones are essentially either census tracts or different areas within a state that have been deemed as economically disadvantaged historically. So SBA has deemed these Hub Zones in order to kind of encourage contracting and stuff like that. So if your business is located in one of these hub zones, there are some other requirements that you have to meet as well, but you might be eligible to certify as the hub zone program and then bid on contracts for that. And one thing to note is that the hub zone program is one area where the federal government falls short often in their contracting requirements, so they don't sometimes reach that 3%. So if your business is located in a hub zone, that's really good to use as a marketing strategy because they are definitely looking for that. And then the final bubble here on the left is the SBA's 8A program, which essentially is for businesses that are underrepresented, which encompasses a lot of different areas. So if you feel that your business has been underrepresented in the past, and you can back that up with sort of documentation, then you could be eligible for this SBA 8A program, which is kind of like a business development program. So not only will you have opportunities to contract under the 8A program, you'll also be given some resources to help you grow as a business and all of that. So the 8A program is a good one for maybe some people who are starting to get into the government contracting world and would like some more opportunities under the 8A program.
So just to add to the 8A, it's for the socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, and it's actually, there is a rule that you have to be in business for at least 2 years in order to be accepted as an 8A. So it's not necessarily for starting businesses. The business has to be established, and then there are other criteria that you have to meet as well.
Cool. Thank you for the clarification. I have a question that came in here, so I'm going to answer that really quick from Jackie, asking, are there programs for rural areas business? Not
that I know of, Jackie.
Yeah.
Usually not for the federal government. So there might be at the state and local preferences. I still can't think of any, but not that I know of.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of is maybe hub zone areas or the new, what are they called? Opportunity zones.
Opportunity zones. Yes, but the hub zone is not necessarily a rural area. Hub zone is just a study, an economic study that was done by the SBA looking at the unemployment and income levels. So if those two are below the threshold, then those are deemed as historically unutilized business zones. Opportunity zones are a little different. The opportunity zones include tax relief, and I'm not familiar with those rules really well to be able to talk about it, but it's tax breaks. That's what it is for the businesses that want to locate their business in that zone.
Mm-hmm. Oops. There we go. Okay, so all of that, all those certifications and self-certifications to say that the government wants to buy in these set-asides as much as they possibly can. So they're a powerful tool for small businesses to level the playing field. So if you are economically disadvantaged or have been disadvantaged in the past, these set-asides are a good way for you to kind of have a leg up, and the federal government wants to be able to give you contracting dollars. So it's a powerful vehicle for helping small firms compete and win prime contracts.
And also, just to add really quickly on what a set-aside is, it's literally a contract is set aside for a specific category. So if it's a small business set-aside, only small businesses can bid for that particular contract. It means that it shrinks the competition, and you compete only to the businesses that are the same category as you are.
Mm-hmm. So every federal government purchase with an anticipated value above the micro purchase threshold, which is $10,000, and up to the simplified acquisition threshold of $250,000, is required automatically to be set aside for small businesses. Anything above 250, they still want to be able to give it to small businesses, but the federal government has to do market research to find out if a small business can. But it's just to know anything below 250 is automatically set aside for small businesses. So this is where anything above 250,000 has the ability to go out for just open contracting. But if the federal government finds out that there can be at least 2 or more small businesses that can do the work for that contract, then they'll set aside that contract for small businesses or for these different socioeconomic categories. So what they'll do is the federal government will put out a sources sought for a certain contract, where they're basically just saying, here's kind of what the project is going to entail. And what they're looking for is for different small businesses or socioeconomic category businesses to say, yeah, we can do this work, and here's just a little write-up of showing that we can do this work. And if they can get 2 or more companies in that set aside to respond to the sources sought and say, yes, we can do that work, that's when they'll put out the actual contract for bid only for that set aside. So this can, like I said, this can apply to small businesses and any of the socioeconomic categories for the contract opportunities that are above the 250,000. So what we're going to take a look at in the next part of the presentation is some market research tools in order to find out if the federal government buys what you sell. And so the 3 things that we're going to be looking at is historical information, then we're going to look at present information and future information, just to give us a lot of different tools at our disposal for market research. And each one has a different benefit to using it. So first, usaspending.gov it's not the official site of where all of the contracting data has to go, but it is a government site that has all of the historical contracting data in a nice, easy to read and easy to navigate format. So this site shows what agencies have purchased and you can break it down by geography, you can break it down by agency, you can break it down by lots of different fields, depending on what you're looking for. The second thing that we'll take a look at is beta.sam.gov, which is where all of the open contracting opportunities have to be posted that are above that simplified acquisition threshold of $250,000. So this is the present. This is what's out there right now. So you can use beta.sam.gov to find out what's out there right now for me, and that's a good market research tool in that respect. And then the third thing we're going to look at is procurement forecasts. This is the future side of market research. And so this is basically agencies will put out, many agencies will put out a procurement forecast. It's kind of like a wish list of what they want to do in the future. Maybe it's the next year, typically. So it's just projects that they have kind of on the horizon that they know that they want to get done. And so they put these out so that you can have access to them and see, okay, they're looking at doing something in this industry, which I'm capable of doing, and you can kind of have that in the back of your mind as you're getting ready for the year. So we'll jump into each of these now.
So Daniel, can I click on these? Can you make me a presenter as well, so I can just click
Sure.
on the link and show people? Do I have to share my screen as well?
Let me see. I'll just give you the keyboard and mouse, I think. Oh, I think I would have to make you a presenter.
We're gonna be looking at the USA spending, and this, as Daniel said, is the historical data. It's a website that is more user friendly, that feeds off of a huge database where all of the data is mandatory put in by the federal contractors. I'm sorry, not the contractor, contracting officers. So there is this database called FPDS, and this USA spending is a good interface where you can just go in, click, and find what you're looking for. And let's see if I can do that. Not yet.
So I don't think I can give you access.
Okay. Do you want to go ahead and click on it, and let's just, I'll just tell you what to do.
Okay.
It should work. It's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Okay. So the USA spending changed their the way it looks. They just switched it a little bit. But what you really want to go and look at, if you want to see, for example, how much an agency has spent in 2020, right, in your NAICS code or in your industry. So this is the website where you want to go. So Daniel, can you click on the word search and go to the advanced search? And then you can see the panel on the left-hand side where there is this filter panel. And this is how you're gonna restrict your search to what you want to look for. So Daniel, under keywords on the top, you can search construction. And then click, yep, you have to click the search button, otherwise the filter will not apply. So after you apply the filter, you see this square label where it says construction. That means that the filter has been applied. Okay, so then we're going to go to time period and click on FY 2020, and let's do FY 2019. All right, so then we're going to go down and we will click on the word type. It's a little up, Daniel. And we're going to click on contracts because we want to look at contracts that were awarded within that period for the keyword construction. And I'm going to keep the agency open, and then we're going to do location. and we're going to choose US, place of performance, and then US, and let's do Nebraska. Okay, and now you have to add filter. So you see the filter at the bottom, it means that it has been applied and selected. So then we're going to scroll all the way down and click Submit Search. So now the database is searching for all of the awards that were awarded within the time frame that we put in for construction. So Daniel, can you please click on categories? Yes. So these tabs on the top, it was default on the table. Can you click on the table again? So this is just a list of awards, a list of contracts. And it tells you the start date, the end date, the award amount, and then the description of the job. And then if you actually pull an Excel download, it will give you even more information about this these particular awards. But for now, you can click on time, Daniel, just for, so we can see what that is. And then it will tell you the total amounts that were obligated in 2019 and in 2020 in by year. Can you hover over the 2019? Okay, so in 2019, the total obligations were over 137 million. And remember, this is by keyword. If you want to be a little more exact, you'll have to search by NAICS code, and you'll have to search by the construction NAICS code or by your NAICS code. This is a keyword, and it will pull the information that has a construction word in it. So it might not reflect 100% all of the contracts that were awarded in these 2 years, but just because it's a keyword, this is what we got. And then in 2020, obviously it's much more, and there were over $312 million obligations in that particular keyword, okay? So now you can click, the map will just show you on the map where these contracts happened. Obviously, we chose Nebraska only. If you are searching for a larger geographic area, then it will show you where those awards are, and it will also color the states by the amounts. So you'll see where the awards were more concentrated. And here, Danielle, you clicked on the county and it shows you where, if you can make the map bigger, it will show you where these awards were more of. And obviously, Lincoln and Omaha are the two highest amounts where these awards were concentrated. So then if you go on the categories, it will break it down by, if you see, Daniel, on top it says spending by and then awarding agency. That's a drop-down menu, and then you can choose, if you click on the industry code, it will break it down by industry code, and then it also breaks it down by PSC code and NAICS code. So click on the NAICS code, and it can tell you exactly what NAICS codes this construction keyword was under. And obviously, it's the commercial and institutional building construction is the most, but not only. Some civil engineer, highway, street, engineering services, or architecture and janitorial services, all of these NAICS codes used the word construction in their solicitation. So if you want to focus only on one or multiple NAICS codes, obviously you would use in your search criteria these codes, the NAICS codes. Okay, so this is the, you can click back on the spending by drop-down menu, And then you can also look at the recipient. You can see who received these awards. And over 144 million were awarded to this Gilbane Federal, which might, if you're a construction company, might be a competitor for you, right? Or if you're a smaller construction company, you can maybe contact them and see if they have subcontracting opportunities for you, because obviously they're doing a lot of work. So I'm gonna pause for a second to see if there are any questions about this website or anything that we talked about on usaspending.gov. Obviously, there is a lot of ways to slice and dice the information, and our consultants can do that for you, and they can see and search who your competition is, who might be a good prime for you to contact so that you might subcontract maybe. They also can search where, what agency is buying what you're selling. So again, a lot of information that can be very useful for your research into finding out where your next step should be in terms of government contracting. Any questions, Danielle?
I haven't gotten any yet, but just as
Okay.
a reminder, if you have questions, you can type them into the questions drop down on your side panel, and we can answer them as they come in here. So yeah, go ahead, Veronica.
Okay, so if you don't have any questions about the USA spending, we can go back to our PowerPoint and move on to our next slide. And this is the agency forecasts website, and you can click on it. I've been poking around this list, and it's really at the high level. As Daniel said, it's a wish list for the agencies, and not all of the agencies post these wish lists that they have. So I don't know how useful it will be for you to, spend a lot of time on this website. You can just locate by doing the market research in finding out who is buying what you're selling via USA Spending, and then you can maybe locate that agency here and see if they have a forecast published. But even if they do, these are usually the priorities that they are, showing, but it doesn't mean that it's going to be implemented. So like last year, nobody knew about COVID, right? At the beginning of the year, agencies were doing their own business. They're trying to contract their things that they needed to. And then COVID hit. And what did they want? They want PPE, and they wanted everything COVID related. So really, priorities can change and shift. And just look at these look at this website lightly and don't put too much faith into it. And I also want to talk about, Daniel, I want to talk about the SAM. I don't think we have a PowerPoint slide on it, but I still want to talk about it because that is also a good website to search for opportunities. So if you go back to our PowerPoint and go next. Oh, we do. Okay, so go ahead and click on it. And SAM is now in a beta stage. And why SAM is in a beta stage is because the government is trying to pull all of these other websites that they had different information on to pull it under the SAM umbrella. And that's why beta SAM is here. So there is a SAM website where you would look for, you would still register in SAM on sam.gov, But beta.sam.gov is this future website that will eventually become sam.gov. But now it has opportunity to search historical award data, like what we just did with USA spending. And it also has the opportunity, the capability to look for open solicitations. So what we're going to do is we're going to look for open solicitation currently under contract opportunities, like Daniel just did. So this is can you click on that again, Daniel? This is what you can do. You can find all award data in the past, assistance listings that are current, contract opportunities that are open currently for you to bid, entity information, and this is just a search for entities. The federal hierarchy, it's like a map of the federal government, and I'm not sure if it's still functional to the extent that they want it to be. But the wage determination I know for sure is. So that's where, if you are putting a contract together and you want to know how much you should pay under a particular wage, you would go here and it would tell you. Okay, so let's remain under contract opportunities and let's stick to construction. Okay, so and then hit search. So it's similar to the USA spending. On the left-hand side, you have the filters, and we're going to go through that and we're going to look. Obviously, we put just a keyword construction and we didn't restrict it any further for now. So it pulled everything that had construction. So now what we want to do is go under response date offers due. And this is a way to restrict what your what the search will get you back. So for example, you want to know what is due custom and put in from today's date to 2 months from today. Okay, and then click filter. So remember, you have to click on the filter, otherwise the filter will not be implemented. So now it restricted the results to all of the solicitations that have construction as a keyword that are due within the next 2 months. Right? Okay. Then we want, you can also have can you scroll a little down? Okay, so then you have the opportunity to choose the federal organization. If you know for sure who is posting these opportunities, you can click on the type of notice. And you can choose whether you want to look at the sources sought, or if it's a pre-solicitation, or it's an open solicitation. So these are the types of the notice that you can further filter. So for example, Daniel talked about the sources sought earlier, and this is where you would respond to the contracting officers that are looking for specific businesses. And if you are interested in those, and that is actually highly recommended for you as a business to respond to these sources sought, because that's a way for you to market your business to the contracting officers, because when they do receive these sources sought, they're reading them and they will read about what can your business do. And it's a great opportunity it's an indirect way to market your business directly to the target market, right? So always respond to sources sought in your particular area. So again, you can do that, or you can just leave it open and then it will give you all of the available types of notices. You can search by NAICS codes. So for example, you don't want to do construction, you want to do the construction NAICS codes, that is, for the industry, or for the construction of buildings, or for residential construction of buildings, or for whatever that you're looking for. So you can restrict that search here. And then you can also search by set aside. So for example, you want to see, if you're a woman-owned business, or you're an 8A, you want to see specifically solicitations that are for that particular set aside. So you can restrict it here further. Okay, and then you can also put the place of performance of the location. So for construction, you don't necessarily want to go out maybe to California to build a building. Maybe if you're a larger company, you do have those capabilities, but if you're a small construction company that operates within Nebraska and surrounding area, maybe you want to restrict that to the Nebraska territory. So there is a way to do it. Can you scroll down a little bit? So if you look at the place of performance location, it says enter zip code. Well, that is not a good way to search, because you don't know all of the zip codes that are in Nebraska, and it can be hundreds of zip codes, and especially if you're searching for other states. So I don't know why they have this as a default, but there is a way to change it. So if you go up, Daniel, I hope that it will keep all of the other selections that we did, but if you go up under change filters, click on that and scroll down to place of performance state and take location out. Take the top, yep. So now update, and that will give you a, scroll down, that will give you a way to restrict it by states and not by the zip codes. As I said, I don't know why they don't have the states as a default, but they don't. So you can just change that yourself. Okay, so it kept our other choices. So scroll all the way down, and we're just gonna search using these this filter. So
I think it automatically went here, yeah.
oh, it restricted it.
Yep.
Okay, so there are two results. There are two results under construction that are due within the next 2 months. That the place of performance is Nebraska, and these are the opportunities. So you can look at them, you can read about what it is, and so on. So this is how you would use BetaSAM to search for opportunities. And I want to pause for any questions. I would say that this website has gone a long way since it first came out. It still has bugs meaning that some things will not work properly. And then sometimes I was doing a webinar maybe like a year ago, and the night before our webinar, I did a search. I wrote down all of my selections for the filter. And then the next day, we did the same search, and I got completely different results. So that was one bug that I saw back then, and I hope that that was fixed. But again, they're still working on it. They're improving it. They meaning GSA, who's in charge of this website. They're taking feedback. So I believe there should be a feedback button on the bottom of this page. Right there, provide feedback. If you're searching and something doesn't look right, or you want to give them suggestions on how to improve this website, GSA says that they are reading their feedback, the feedback forms. So That's the only thing that we can do. We've provided many feedbacks from our own staff, and some were implemented and some were not, like the place of performance, as you just saw. That's the best we can do. Any questions, Daniel, about Beta SAM?
No questions so far.
Okay, so let's go back to our PowerPoint. And we have 10 minutes left, so we're going to go ahead and, one more thing to mention about Beta SAM is that opportunities over $25,000 are posted on betasam.gov. Everything under is not necessarily posted. It's not mandated. Some agencies post everything, no matter of the threshold. Majority of the agencies don't post anything below $25,000. So you, as a small business, are thinking, how can you find out these opportunities under $25,000? And it's a lot of money that actually is floating within this under the $25,000 threshold. And everything between 15,000 and 25,000 must be displayed in a public place. It used to be that agencies would just print their opportunities and put them on their board outside of their door in their agency hallway, where it's a public place and everybody can come. Well, only people that would go there physically would know about them. And, you know, that was a long time ago, although some of the agencies still used to do that. Recently, what I've seen is agencies have Twitter feeds, they have social media, LinkedIn accounts, and they post those opportunities on these social media platforms. Or they would sometimes partner with us, the PTACs, and they would send us opportunities and then ask us to disseminate this information to our small businesses, so they're aware of it as well. So they're just trying to find creative ways to look for these opportunities that are between $15,000 and $25,000. And again, the bad part about it is that every agency is doing their own way, how they're disseminating this information. And then under $10,000, it's considered a micro purchase, and it can go on a credit card. So literally, the contracting officer will just pick up the phone and call a company that they've maybe worked with before, or they just submitted a sources sought, and they know that the company is doing this kind of work, or they ask for the PTACs, to disseminate the information. So again, this is really at the discretion of the contracting officer, of the purchase card holder, on how they're finding these businesses. So it's very, very important for you to have a capability statement and share your capability statement with these contracting officers, and also attend our events, and also submit these sources sought, so that your business is in front of these contracting officers. So when they do have an opportunity where they can buy something for $10,000, they would just think of you and pick up the phone and give you a call. Now, I must say that under $10,000, they don't have to do they're not mandated to do the market research, meaning they don't have to have more than one bidder, or they just have to think that the price is reasonable. So it's at their own discretion, as I said. And I believe there is the next slide talks about that. Between $15,000 and $25,000, the contracting officers have to ask for 3 bidders. So then, they will look at those, and then they will pick the one that they want, not necessarily the lowest price. They can justify if they go a little higher. They just have to be able to justify it, but at least they will look for 3 bids. Daniel, do you want to move to the next slide? Yes, and this is the slide that talks about it. So it used to be that the micro purchase was $3,000, and it was increased to $10,000 in 2018, and it was implemented last year. So since last year, agencies started implementing this $10,000 threshold. And then if you read the bottom of the PowerPoint, it talks about the FAR that specifies that micro purchases may be awarded without soliciting competitive quotations. So that's where it tells you that they don't have to compete it. And what I've also talked to, and that was a few years ago, I talked to the small business liaison person at Offutt. He told me that Offutt buys on the credit card on average a year over $30 million in purchases. So that goes on all kind of purchases under $10,000, not only one item, specific item, it's all of them, and it's for the year. But $30 million in micro purchase threshold is a lot of money. So you as a small business have to be aware about this and how you can get a piece of that pie. Any questions so far, Daniel?
Nope, nothing yet.
Okay, let's move on. So where can you find these opportunities? As I said, the Beta SAM is for everything over 25,000. There is a separate website, fedconnect.net. This is a website where it will still be posted on Beta SAM, but then it will redirect you for this this external website. It's not a scam. It's a legit website where some agencies choose to post their solicitations there. I don't know why they choose it. I think it's a little easier to work than the Beta SAM, but it's a different one. Some of the agencies post these under 25 on their own websites, as I said, and it's really a headache to know all of them. But if you do your market research and you shrink the pool to specific agencies that you want to watch, then it's a little more manageable. And you can also contact the small business specialist from each agency and talk to them and see how this particular agency, the agency that you're interested in, how do they market these opportunities. Okay, let's move on to the next. What are the best practices that we've seen and that we're teaching our clients? You have to know who your customer is. So what is your target? What is their target agency? What is their procurement process? Meaning, what kind of contracting vehicles are they using? Are they using GSA schedule, or are they not? Are they using set-asides, or do they usually post under open solicitations or open market? So everybody can bid. You just have to look at the historical data and find these answers. Where do they like to post? Where are the most opportunities? Are they in Nebraska? Are they in another state? Can I bid there? Find the contracting officers' names. Usually you can find that information in the past awards and the contracting officer that was assigned to that particular contracting opportunity. And then you can email them and ask them questions about, different future opportunities. You don't want to be annoying and just emailing them out of the blue. There is a strategy in place that we're also teaching and have classes on how to contact the contracting officer. And we can teach you how to do that as well. And then also find who the prime contractors are. You might not be a prime yourself because maybe you're still small, maybe you're just getting into government contracting, but prime contractors need subcontractors. They are searching for businesses, and we are hosting different kind of events where you can network with these prime contractors and other small businesses alike. And they're called industry networking. We just had one this week, Daniel. Was it this week?
Yes, we did this week. Mm-hmm.
And it was on construction. So just look at what kind of industry networking events do we have, and if that's your industry, you're more than welcome to attend. And I should also say that all of our events and services are free. We don't charge for them. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. And a lot of businesses are thinking about federal contracting as their first step. I would say if you're a small business and you're just starting, I would say you start at the bottom of the funnel. You start with local, state and local opportunities. You start with schools, you start with universities, you start with a city. City of Omaha has a lot of opportunity, especially in construction. And then you go to state level, and then you would go to the federal. So it's easier as a small business to create past performance using state and local governments. Okay, let's move forward. What you can do to increase your chances of being noticed or being found, because remember, the contracting officers are also looking for businesses that can be are capable of performing the job that they're looking for. So what they do is they go to dsbs.sba.gov, and that website feeds off of the SAM, your SAM registration. And if you have a capability description on the DSBS, then they would maybe give you a call and ask you, can you do this kind of job? But this is where they would go and look for businesses for whatever they're looking for. Ask your PTAC consultant to review your DSBS profile, because you want to make it to the point, and you do want to have something in there. You don't want to leave it blank, because then you will be overlooked. Ensure that you have an optimum NAICS codes, and they are relevant to what you do. You don't want to have 100 NAICS codes linked to your two-people business, because then you will also be overlooked, because the contracting officer won't even know what you do. Again, I think I mentioned the capability statements. Make sure that you have one. Okay, go to the next. How to find subcontracting opportunities. That is a little harder to do. SBA maintains a database for subcontracting opportunities, but these are limited in what you can find. It's still worth a shot on searching and looking whether you have something in there, but remember that this is only federal level, and it's not a complete list. So a good way to find subcontracting opportunities is via networking. It's who you know, and that's what you want to do. You want to expand that that networking, that network of yours and who you know. Review your usaspending.gov for recent awards. Another way, as I mentioned, to find out who got awarded, and then maybe they have subcontracting opportunities that you can work with them on. Maybe they don't have it now, but maybe they will have it in the future, and it's also always a good idea to reach out to them and introduce yourself. It's just a way of doing business. Let's move on. how to market to primes and mentors and partners. As I said, have the capability statement, have your elevator speech, know your market, know who the primes are, and timing is very important. You cannot go to a prime and say, I want to subcontract with you tomorrow. Chances are that they already have their subcontractors lined up, and since if they don't know you, they won't take chances of subcontracting with somebody that they don't know. So it takes time to build these relationships. Okay, move on.
Veronica, really quick, there's a
Yeah.
question asking if the attendees can get a copy of the slides for reference, and yes, if you go in the GoToWebinar side panel, there's a handouts tab that you can click on, and then it has the PowerPoint right there, and you can download it to your computer for anybody that wants the PowerPoint. And also we are recording today's webinar. If you want a copy of the recording as well, you can send me an email afterwards, and I will send you the link to that also.
Okay, so how to find these businesses that you could prime with? As I said, subnet is one option, but I don't think that there are a lot of opportunities there. Find the small business liaison officers. A lot of larger companies have a role dedicated specifically to enhancing their network with small businesses and disadvantaged businesses and women-owned and veteran-owned and all of that. So those individuals are tasked to connecting with you and knowing about you, so then they can form their teams for future opportunities that the large prime is going after. Conferences, attend conferences, especially in nowadays, everything is online and it's not as expensive as it used to be. There's no travel involved. So attend as many conferences that are relevant to your industry as possible and see what these federal agencies or state agencies are talking about and meet people there. SAMI is another opportunity for locally. There is an Omaha chapter, and it's the Society of American Military Engineers. It's not only for engineers. They expanded the reach to construction companies, to trade companies as well, specific trade, specialty trade. And then you can network there as well. They have monthly events that you can attend and conferences. They have the SAMI Industry Day, and it's their big one every year. It used to be in Omaha, and or it is in Omaha, and last year they skipped it because of COVID. But I think this year they're planning to have in person, I think the second half of the year. So look for that information as well. Locate the small business specialist at the agency. So the way that businesses have an SBLO, similarly, agencies have a small business specialist, which is their job to know the lay of the land in small businesses. And this is the individual where you want to send your capability statement and talk to them about opportunities, because they know what the specific agency that they work at they're looking for, and then they know the contracting officers, and then they can just put you in contact with somebody that's looking for something that you're trying to sell, whether it's a service or good. And obviously do the market research for the spending. Again, don't forget that our consultants will help you do that market research for you, because this is what we do and we know those websites in and out, and we can help you with that as well. Okay, move forward. we have a lot of events. We have 70 plus events this year scheduled. So this was one, obviously. We have a new series coming in starting next month with Guy Timberlake. Do you want to talk about that, Daniel?
Yeah, so Guy Timberlake is he's been in the government contracting world for over 30 years, and he has a lot of experience firsthand. He does great training workshops and stuff, so we're really blessed to have him for 12 workshops this year, all virtual, and we'll be kicking off that series on February 4th. He's going to be talking about simplified acquisitions, and then after that, I think he's going to get into a couple market research topics on the FPDS system. So if you want more information on those, you can go to our events website or you can email me. I believe I emailed all of you this morning, so you should have my email. If not, I can send it in the chat. But yeah, we have that coming up.
And then also, please visit our events page where we have all of our workshops listed. And I think we have them for the next 3 months. But as the time progresses, more will be posted. Okay, next slide. As I said, you want to have everything, all your ducks in a row ready before you actually start calling these people or emailing these people or going to such events. So have capability statement, your social presence or your online presence ready. Know your value proposition. What are you bringing to the table? Know your elevator speech. Know your target market, and know what to ask when you are in front of these people so that you don't waste your time and their time. Next. And that's it. So this was a quick overview, and I apologize for going over the hour, but this is really quickly overview of the market research. As Daniel said, we will have a more hands-on webinars in the future on different topics. Watch our future events. Any questions, Daniel?
Nope, no questions right now. If you have them, last minute questions, go ahead and type them in the questions box. One other series of events that I want to just throw out to everybody is we are going to have an agency spotlight series starting on February 8th with Offutt Air Force Base. So every month we'll be featuring a different government agency, both federal and local. And they're just going to be coming in and talking about how they do business and some of the projects that they have upcoming. So like Veronica said, that's a good way to get in front of these contracting officers and small business liaisons to kind of know how they buy and to get your business in front of them. So look out for those events as well if you find any agencies that we have that you're interested in doing business with.
And I would like to thank you for your time today, and that will conclude our webinar for today. Thank you and have a great weekend.
Thanks everybody. Bye.